So you're a student at Cardiff University. What are you studying, or what have you studied?
I did my undergraduate in mechanical engineering with the air industry, and that was the integrated master's course. So that was basically a 5-year course, and I did a placement in Meritone Cumbran.
Amazing. And where did you grow up? What kind of school did you attend? Can you tell us a bit about your childhood and your teenage years?
To be honest, I had quite a nice childhood. I've got a very big family. I'm the youngest child. I've got five sisters, two brothers. So I had a very big family, and I loved that. I was brought up on a council estate in Newcastle, but to be honest, that was quite nice. I thought it was. I quite like the sense of community that you find them in where I live, to be honest. As I was growing up, I was very sporty. So I played rugby. I was on the England judo squad at one point, and I wanted to be a professional rugby player. I got injured when I was about 16, but I kept playing, and I actually got an operation during my time at Cardiff on my shoulder. So I had to kind of stop playing then and focused a lot more on my studies and my career from then on. But when I was a kid, I used to get involved with everything. So I was in like bands, I played guitar, and yeah, so.
And what was your school like?
My school?
Secondary school, primary school?
I think they were just like very like typical state schools, really. Like, you know, nothing fancy, but you know, very, very pleasant. I think I would say that my secondary school was quite interesting. They were like sort of getting new buildings made. It was quite an old sort of school, but very much, you know, fine. I've no qualms with my time at school. I think they were more the simple years of my life. Well, when I was an undergraduate student, I was very much involved in, you know, what was going on in the city and sort of that kind of stuff. And at the start of my PhD, I decided that I wanted to live a bit more outside of the city and get a bit more involved in like sort of the Welsh culture, and just to live a bit more of a more peaceful life. Because I think student life is really challenging, and it does take its toll on you, really. You know, moving away from home, having to look after yourself, it's a lot, you know. And obviously I think that's a big reason why the student union is important, to safeguard and to help people actually thrive as well. But yeah, so at the moment I'm doing a lot of gardening in the Welsh countryside. That's my part-time job. So I'm doing that at the moment. But in the second year of my studies, I was working for a medical engineering company in Llansamlet in Swansea. So really, I think I've been doing a lot of work, but I kind of have decided to take things a bit more easy recently, and like really focus on like my mental health and who I am. And I think the main way I've been trying to do that is by putting myself in the environment that helps us be the person I want to be. I've actually started playing rugby again. So I mentioned before that I'd had some rugby injuries and stuff, and had an operation in my early days at the uni. But I've actually started playing for Club Rugby Cymru Cardiff. So it's actually a Welsh-speaking rugby team. I don't speak very good Welsh at all. I know a few words, and I can kind of start to pick it up from the lads and from the girls as well. We've got a very strong women's team, you know, that's been a real experience for us, just really kind of getting involved with the Welsh culture through that. It's been amazing. So I don't know if you know much about the rugby team, but it's kind of set up for people from all over Wales, Welsh speakers, who are in Cardiff, to kind of have somewhere to go to speak Welsh and to be a part of that. You know, it's really interesting, like as an Englishman, to be a part of that and to learn about the history more and about how the people are currently feeling. And you know, it's been a real pleasure to be invited to do that actually.
So what was the sort of thinking behind joining a Welsh language speaking club rather than a local English speaking side?
Well, actually, so my dad was down visiting and I was in a coffee shop and I was talking to, I met the head of the rugby club and we're just having a chat, and you know, kind of saying about how I was from Newcastle and I was down in Cardiff, and he was kind of just saying you know, you kind of fit the sort of point of the club. The only thing that you don't fit is being Welsh. He's like, you know, kind of vagabond from Newcastle down in Cardiff, not really a big part of any groups as such. So that was kind of how I got a foot in, and I think you know, it was lucky because, you know, they needed some players for the second team, and it was kind of an opportunity where I could help out, and you know, they've helped me massively, to be honest. I can't really thank them enough, and it's nice to be able to get an opportunity to talk about it actually. I mean, when I joined the rugby club, I was having a pretty difficult time in my life, and you know, the rugby club in the year that I joined had decided that they were going to have a big push for well-being and stuff like that. So they'd kind of got a club therapist and stuff like that, and I was kind of joining the rugby club as God, I'm trying to reach out, be with a group of lads and stuff like that, and that's exactly what it's been for us. But also on top of that, you know, I've had access to a therapist through the rugby team, which has been instrumental really for me over the last sort of year and a half for sure.
Thank you for sharing that. Do you have a favourite sort of social event in Cardiff? Of course you talked about your rugby team, but sort of a pub, a club, society, anything?
Well, I think really I like going out in town when I do you know, I like Lab 22, which is a little cocktail bar in Chippy Alley. So I quite like going there. It's quite a nice little place. But I used to love the Student Union on a Wednesday night. I used to go every Wednesday, mainly at the start of my studies when I didn't have so much work to do. And that's undergraduate when I was there, most Wednesdays. But I actually kind of stopped going out because I broke my jaw in the Student Union. Well, I say I broke my jaw, someone else broke my jaw for us. So that was an incredibly difficult time. So that was during my master's year. So I think from sort of November till the end of the year, I was kind of working from home, and then COVID started. And I think, you know, when you've gone through something like that, you don't want to be isolating with all the COVID stuff. So it was a really challenging time. Yeah, but you know, I definitely really enjoyed the sort of student union-led events I did, and I like doing sort of now. I like doing a bit of park running and stuff like that as well. Still like to go and party, but there's definitely a lot more sort of well-being sort of events in there, and they kind of it's what I like to put my focus on them things now.
What's the story behind the broken jaw, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I think, well, how would I put it in the short terms? I think basically one of my friends was dancing with a girl. Her boyfriend kind of came over, wasn't happy with him. They kind of had words. And then when the words ended, I kind of got my friend and I was like, you just stay over there, and got him, and then I was in between the two groups. And then I was kind of just with my friends. There was a small group before I'd just come onto the dance floor and eat plus.
Yeah.
Kind of I was getting pushed from behind by a group of lads. It was after the Rugby World Cup final, so this was quite late in the night.
Quite rowdy.
Yeah, it was quite rowdy, and I kind of turned around, and like somebody was basically, there was like a few lads that were saying something, and I think the most honest way to say it is like I kind of asked him what was wrong, and he kind of squared up to us, and then I just pushed him away from us as hard as I could, really, because I didn't want him anywhere near us. And then as I turned around, someone else punched us from behind in the jaw and broke it into 4 pieces. So that was a really difficult thing to come back from, and just to feel like myself again after it. I mean, you know, I think having an involvement in something like that, you do question yourself a lot, like, why did that happen to me? Like, is it my fault? And all that kind of stuff. But obviously I never had any bad intentions in the situation, but I just feel kind of threatened, and that kind of happened. So yeah, but I've had two operations since the original operations, and that I've got a lot of metal work in my face, and it still bothers us to this day, to be honest. I've got a lot of like nerve damage across here, so that can be quite like triggering and like really set off your whole nervous system. So you know, I really want to help people feel safe, because I think there's 2 different things about safety. One is being safe and protected, and the other one is feeling safe. And I really want to help students feel safe. I really struggled with breaking my jaw in the student union because it was a place where I felt safe. So it was kind of like, it meant that it was difficult to find myself feeling safe again in the university. So anyway, that was my master's year. So I finished my master's, I worked in industry for a bit, did different things. I was actually, when I first left and went home, I was actually my dad's carer for about 1.5 years. My dad's got schizophrenia, and I'm quite open to talk about it as well, because I think sort of the awareness on that kind of thing is really important. But during COVID he was really struggling, and it was hard. I also had a broken jaw at the same time, and I was really struggling with that, like with all the dentistry issues that were going on. You know, people were going to the pub, but I couldn't go to the dentist. And then I waited over 1 year for an operation during COVID, which was like really difficult, because it was like I had to put it in short, I needed a fill-in. I couldn't get the fill-in for ages, and then I needed to get a root canal, and then they wouldn't do the root canal in one session, so they would like do one root, patch it up, come back a month later, do another root, do that over 3 months. And on the last root, they were like, we can't numb this root, there must be something wrong, you're going to have to take the tooth out. And then we're like, we can't pull the tooth out because you've got a screw from your jaw plate going through the roots on the tooth. So I had to get the plate taken out. So basically I had toothache for about 1 year, which was incredibly awful. And at the same time I was looking after my dad. Thankfully my dad has had all the support that's available to him now, and he's doing really well with his mental health. I would say he's probably the best he's been in my whole life on that side of things. After that kind of, what I would say, episode of my chapter of my life, I wanted to come to uni and then kind of have a bit of focus on myself and do my own thing. And then in my second year of my studies, my dad actually got diagnosed with idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. So I've kind of got that ongoing at the minute, and like trying to like balance things. So like my life plan at the minute is quite complicated. You know, I'm not actually planning that far ahead. Yeah.
So what drew you to sort of the conclusion that you'd like to run for this role?
Well, I think I feel like during my time at Cardiff University that although some things have improved, I don't think Cardiff Uni has really like kept up with other universities in some ways. You know, you can see that in the league tables, like Cardiff's fallen down the league tables quite significantly. Obviously we've recently had a lot of staff that have been made redundant. We're coming back from COVID and all them kind of things, and I think that they've caused a lot of difficulties for people, and I would like to sort of help people feel more empowered again and be more involved in the student experience, because I think I think, like, you know, you come to university and you learn from books and online sources and all that, but you know, anyone can really get access to that. You know, there's libraries all over the place, but the student experience and that sort of developing that spark in people to be enthusiastic about something is what I think universities are good for. And also I think meeting people from different backgrounds and different countries and all of this kind of stuff is so important, like, and I think it should be celebrated. Like, you know, one of my main priorities is about diversity, and I really want people to feel like that's something to celebrate. You know, if everyone was the same, the world would be a boring place and would just probably end up going in the wrong direction anyway, because people wouldn't be questioning each other. So, you know, my view is that kind of diversity and difference in people is what kind of helps keep the balance. I think if people have a positive attitude towards diversity, you actually bring out the beautiful parts of each other, and that's kind of what I want to help do, and I want to really celebrate difference more within the university. Yeah.
Amazing, thank you. And of course, most students are only at Cardiff for 3 or 4 years. You have a very unique perspective of having seen what university is like sort of pre-COVID and post-COVID. How will you ensure that you're representing the priorities of sort of newer, younger students versus people like myself, yourself, who have been here a little bit longer or are a little bit older?
Yeah, so I think obviously for me, like, it's very easy for me to say, you know, like, if I went back in hindsight, like, what would you change? You know, I could sit here and tell you all day, like, things that I would change, things that I thought were good, and, you know, we could talk about that. But I've kind of had the experience. I feel like I've had the experience, and I think what matters is the new people having an experience, not necessarily the same experience as me, or like not necessarily what I would say was a good experience. I want to help people have the experience like that they kind of wanting. So, you know, I think obviously we've got the vice presidents in different sort of roles representing different groups, which you know, is really important. But also I would like to make myself very accessible. So, you know, having sort of like regular meetups where, you know, I'm just like kind of, I haven't quite decided how I'm going to do it yet if I get elected, but, you know, kind of like open online sort of chat room, or like a meetup in the TAF, or like something a bit more formal sometimes. You know, it would be nice to have these kind of events, but when there is events that the student union are involved in, I'll make sure that I'm very visible and approachable at these events, so I can talk to people on the ground, and that's something which is really important to me, and also like obviously the other candidates that are running. I haven't really looked into too much what they're standing for at the minute, because I want to focus on actually having a voice myself, because, you know, I might not get elected, so I wanted to share what were my thoughts. But I mean, if I did get elected, that would be the first protocol for me, would be actually to speak to other candidates, speak to old elected officials, and to really dig into that side of things, and then obviously to get out there and on the ground and talking to different people. I think that's generally it. It's just being open and like having like authentic conversations with people, but also I think it's also important that are like show like a level of like vulnerability from my experiences and be quite open and honest about like things that I might have struggled with or stuff like that, and let people know that, you know, like it's all right, like we'll get through it, we'll have each other's back, and we'll try and create that like positive environment for everyone. I think one thing that I'm quite passionate about trying to facilitate, I think it's will be a bit of a challenge, but it's like actually learning about the minority groups which aren't necessarily represented by vice presidents and stuff like that, and like trying to represent them. I say like represent them myself, right? But I don't want to be necessarily like just looking for minority groups and trying to represent them myself, because I don't want to misrepresent people. But I do want to help give people like the stage to represent themselves, and for me to sort of advocate for people to have that space. And if they want my support as well, then I'd be very willing to kind of work out how I can actually represent them groups. But for me, I think any sort of group that has a perception of vulnerability, I think that's going to be something which I'm going to be really focused on, because I think at the minute, you know, the way the world is, you know, there's a lot of different views going around and stuff like that, and I think before any sort of politics and stuff like that, I just want to make sure people feel safe and comfortable to be themselves. And I think, you know, we're here on a learning experience, and people should be allowed to have that journey and that experience without being kind of shut down. So, you know, I do kind of want to make sure that, like, you know, people can speak freely and stuff like that, and we can have conversation, but I want to really try and help it be like positive, not kind of destructive conversation, because, you know, I think that can happen quite easily. And I also really want to try and have a way of like sharing like the help that kind of people have had in the university in like an anonymous way, so people feel like they can kind of reach out to services and get like support and help in that. Like, I mean, for me, being here for so long, like I've like used the services myself. Like at first I was kind of a student mentor and stuff like that, and I was learning about all the services and what's there through like the student mentor welfare officer, like active bystander training. I think that is active bystander training like more compulsory now.
I think they are trying to, I'll have to find the direct quote, but I think it's by next year it's going to be mandatory.
Yeah, so like I did do that training, and for me it's been really like crucial. But some of the things that I've like struggled with it is like actually like active bystander, I can help in the situation, but when the situation's ended, it's like quite difficult to help. Yeah. Like I have like reported like incidents that I've like witnessed before. And like the kind of comeback that I got was like, oh, like the student needs to report it themselves. And like that was really disheartening, because I think, you know, when we've got students from like sort of different countries and stuff like that, they don't necessarily know the standards that we should hold ourselves to in Cardiff University, you know, in Wales. You know, and I think that's really important that like international students are treated with the same respect and dignity that like you know, Welsh students are, or any one that might represent as like British or etc. Or Western, or however you kind of would view it. You know, I'm really passionate about that, and also like I think that you know, it's like really in the universities, in like the world's best interest for like international students to have a good experience here. You know, we don't really want disgruntled students. We want nice relationships where, you know, people are celebrating culture and helping people have the best of their culture. I think at the minute in the world, we're seeing the worst of all sides and all cultures, really. And we're also seeing a lot of cultural destruction as well, like heritage sites and stuff like that, and I think it's like totally heartbreaking. and I want to be quite vocal about that as well, because, you know, as a university, like, we should be very inclusive, and we should be making sure that people can not just be in a room, but be in a room and, like, be themselves, you know, like, be how they want to be. And, you know, I think like, the person I was when I started university to now is very different, and I've had disheartening experiences, and I've also had, like, I don't know the right word, heartening experiences. So, you know, I think, like, there is, like, a balance to, like, find there, but I feel like the things that have been most heartening is just people taking the time to have authentic conversations with us and just be real. So, you know, for me, I'm actually excited. I'm excited, and you know, I hope I can represent people in the student union position and, like, try and make some change. But I'm really excited to actually learn about people. So, you know, if there is, like, a new generation coming in, like, I want to learn about the challenges that they're facing. You know, there's one of the things that I'm really keen to do is to kind of, like, learn about the problems that are happening now and fix them before they spiral into, like, bigger problems. So, you know, I think for that to happen, I need to, like, kind of, like, be working in quite a, like, sort of live sense, you know, not kind of, like, finding something out along the grapevine that's happened months ago and then kind of, like, trying to put in, like big changes. Like, because I think often, like you say, a new cohort every year is going to have very different challenges to the one before. You know, I think one thing that I think about, I'm just going to, like, draw a little bit of a comparison to like what I imagine it would be like to be a parent, and that is, like, kind of like that with your kids, you can kind of help them not have this problems that you had quite easily, but, you know, they're still going to have their own problems. And I think the university is quite good at, like, thinking about, like, you know, past problems and how we're going to solve them. But actually, when there's, like, new problems, I think the university doesn't react quick enough. And I think that is, like, a big problem at the moment, is that, like, reaction time. So, like, I really want to, like, make sure that if things are raised that can be reacted to quickly, that they basically get put on my desk straight away, and that I can, like, you know, get on my feet and go and talk to the right people and, like, make sure that that change is, like, happening straight away to help, like, you know, almost individuals or groups of people, like, if I to that level, if I can, you know, that's what I'd really like to do.
Of course, unlike some other candidates in this election, you don't have much of a public presence beyond, of course, your LinkedIn and coming in to talk to us. Is that a deliberate choice? How do you think that students can best engage with you or talk about your campaign with you?
Yeah, so I was really I was quite sad that the Q&A got cancelled, because I thought that students should have every possible chance to interact and ask questions to us. So I'm actually, like, at the moment trying to think about how I can create more opportunity for sort of discussion, but also I am going to be involved with the presidential debate on Saturday, and then also on Sunday I'm going to be talking on the Express Radio as well. So if anyone's got any questions, you know, for anything like that, I would definitely, you know, say just put them forward. I'll answer as much as I can. But also my LinkedIn is there, and, you know, I'm more than happy for people to go on there. You can kind of see what I've done in the past, like what I'm pushing for in my day-to-day life. You know, like, for me, I haven't really, like, been, like, you know, I want to be SU president and then working towards this opportunity for a long time. It is very much like it's just felt right at the time to nominate myself and to push forwards with it. But I think more of a way to be on the ground, and I plan to try and spend a bit more time in the student union during the week next week, and I suppose, like, you know, I would be turning to like yourselves to kind of, you know, maybe put a little post out on my behalf just saying Callum's going to be around in this times if you want to go and have a chat with them. But I'm kind of just trying to work out the logistics of how to do that, but I am very approachable, and, you know, if people want to add us on LinkedIn and send us a message, I'd be more than happy to have, like, even like a Teams call or like a phone call, or to meet people, you know, and or groups as well. So, you know, I'm very open to that, but like this kind of sort of political environment isn't something that I'm actually used to. I mean, I've had like a treasurer role with like a material society, which is like an industry and academic material society, but you know, it wasn't such a big population, like, to get the votes to do that. It was quite like a small base, so it's a work in progress, and there will be something, and I will put it out there for people to get more engaged if that's what they'd like.
Do you think the smaller scale social media maybe puts you at a disadvantage when it comes to winning this election?
I think what I'm trying to say is that I'm not like actually like trying just to win the election. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to have my voice heard and to share my experience, and you know, if the population thinks that someone else is a better candidate, like, you know, I'll be happy, because it'll be like, you know, someone is better than me to do this role, and then the students will have a better SU president. Yeah. So for me, I'm not trying to like play games as such. I'm just trying to be raw and authentic, and just share my views. So, you know, like, I think like this kind of interview and the one on Saturday and on Sunday, they are my main opportunities to share my views, really. And I think it is going to be important that I have some sort of presence, but I'm still working out how to do that. But we will see something happening.
And could I ask, sort of, why, I suppose you have, I don't want to say reluctance, but like you said yourself, lots of candidates sort of pre-plan their campaign and they make TikToks and Instagram posts. Why is that not something that you've done yourself, or that you're interested in doing?
Well, I would say that recently has been a busy time for us, and I would have liked to have done more, but I do have like sort of a few challenges on my plate at the moment. Like I think one of the things which I think I do want to talk about with you is like, I think the subject of sexual assault is like really important at the moment within the university, and I think it's okay if I just talk on it.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I think within the population and as such, I think that sexual assault has always been a big problem. It's actually not just a new problem, it's just people are more willing to call things out now, and people are more educated on it. So last February I actually got sexually assaulted, and it's in Cardiff Crown Court at the minute. So on the 2nd of February there was like a hearing. The guy who sexually assaulted us who's actually one of my neighbours, he pleaded guilty, and then there was, on the 2nd of March, there was meant to be the sentencing, where I was going to go and read my victim personal statement. So that has been a big focus for me, is actually standing up for that. It's been a really difficult time because he's got multiple cases against him. I kind of brought my case forwards when other charges that he had got dropped, to try and kind of like support the other victims, but I didn't really realise how much it had actually affected me. And I think you know, it's easy to think about things like sexual assault and etc. and kind of like think, you know, like, oh, it's horrible, like, you know, for the victims and stuff like that. But it was just totally new feelings for us after that. I was like, I couldn't, you know, you develop a self-awareness in yourself, and you kind of think you can kind of like manage your own feelings. But after that, like, I was really struggling to manage my own, kind of like manage your own feelings. But after that, like, I was really struggling to manage my own feelings, and it was really difficult. So, like, you know, I've had a lot of help from the university over the last year. I mentioned that I'd had the therapy from the rugby club, and ever since that happened to me, it's like I'm seeing like abuses of power everywhere, like, and I think the sexual assault side of thing is, you know, a big part of that abuse of power. And like, I've seen some things happen in the university, and like, I'm currently working with the SU to report things that I've seen, but like I say, it's very difficult when the student isn't reporting it themselves. So for me, I think I just want to help people have clear standards, you know, and to make sure that people are treated equally and will have equality. And it is something which I personally think in the past I didn't take fully seriously. I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of different people. Like, I've been quite public about it. I mean, I've put a bit of a statement on my Facebook and stuff like that about it. And I think like people, everyone needs to be involved in the change, and I think men need to be a big part of that change as well. And like, having conversations, calling out behaviour and learning and changing and holding yourself accountable. And like, you know, like I think back like when I was at uni and like I was on the rugby team, and or like, you know, going out and like kind of behaviours that would have. And although like in my head, you know, there was not a bad bone in anyone's body, people had a good heart. Now, after I've experienced it and I've been like almost wounded, I can see how some of them behaviours could come across and be very uncomfortable for people. And I think I would really like to help change the culture in that sort of area, and to help men be a big part of that as well. I think that it's very difficult, because when you bring change, it like brings up like a lot of like sad things, and then at the same time you kind of want to like celebrate positive change, but like you can't really, like it's a very delicate area.
What positive change would you want to see? What would your policy be on changing things? How would you change things?
Well, I think it's the first thing that I'm doing is right now is being like put myself in a vulnerable situation where I'm trying to talk about my experiences, and you know, like I hope that some of the male listeners of this can think like about not just about like, you know, what's right and wrong on paper, but actually like empowering each other, making people have perceived safety as well. Because, you know, for a long time after what happened to me, I just didn't leave the house because I didn't like feel comfortable. But I should have been perfectly comfortable and I was perfectly safe. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. What happened to us was like a freak event. You know, it was like just so unbelievable to me. But like it just played on my mind a lot because, you know, if you kind of look at me sat in front of you, you know, I'm like a white male, like kind of bigger guy, you know, and I worry about what happens to people who are actually vulnerable and who get knocked down and they can't get back up and have a voice. And I think it's like really difficult to like reach them people and to get them people the right help. But I think as a community, if people better understand things, they can better understand people, like people's trauma responses, like how they deal with things. And actually I think it's a big lesson for everyone that'll actually help everyone thrive, help empower everyone. You know, I feel like together we're stronger. And I feel like when you're kind of like causing like, you know, gossiping and like kind of like it can be like it doesn't help, you know. And I think that is kind of the top and bottom of it. I mean, like, you know, I think I read a statistic yesterday where it was like talking about like the Sarah case, and I think it was saying like about 600 women had been like killed since, and that's like devastating. I hope that's the right fact, but you know, it was when I read it, I was like, that's unbelievable. You know, that like something like that could happen, and it hasn't driven like such a big change. But I think it's very easy for people at the top to like try and make change, like and like let that filter down and happen. But I think like actually, if people come together, that we can make like a really big change. So I think the active bystander stuff is like so amazing, you know, because it's like it really makes people like think about like what's the right thing to do. And you know, like often when someone's saying things that are silly and inappropriate, like 9 out of 10 people are stand there just like listening, just thinking like, oh, you know, I don't want to like be confrontational. But to be honest, like I want people that are going to say things like that to know that people are just going to be like, you know, this is not right, you know. And I think like if we can have more conversation and people can talk about things, and I'm not saying I want people to come out like I have today and just like say all that on like for the newspaper, but you know, I would like to try and capture some cases like anonymously to share like with students about like how these things affect people and also like the help that the university's got, because I think I was really surprised at how much the university would actually do to help, you know. And it's been a really interesting time, but I do think we're like at a bit of like an inflection point at the minute where I think things are very polarized, and I want to try and like help pull people back together, because you know, like anything in this area regarding like women's safety, like men's safety as well, like shouldn't be like politicized. You know, it should be common sense, you know. And if people are seeing things happen, you know, they should know that if they speak out, everyone else there is going to have their back, and it's just that person that's got the problem.
Yeah.
And I think that way it's not really about like a confrontation where it's polarised views. It's more just like someone actually going home and thinking like the way I acted wasn't right, and reflecting on it and hopefully changing. You know, but I think like it's very easy when you're like younger and you haven't experienced things to have like almost like seen behaviours and just to repeat them and copy them, or like in films and stuff, like there might be like things portrayed wrong, and you know, you have people like Andrew Tate and like these people like sharing like a lot of nonsense and like also framing things in totally the wrong way. And I think it's kind of like heartbreaking, because I was like, as I grew up, I kind of felt like things were just constantly getting better, really. But like now I'm a bit older, like you can kind of see things like maybe on average things are getting better, but like some things do slip and some things do get worse. And you know, there's a lot going on at the minute. Like, you know, you have all these files getting released in the US. It's like big trigger for a lot of people, and you know, it brings up a lot of things where people have experienced things in the past and they haven't even like gone over their own issues. So like, you know, it is a difficult time for people at the minute who have had challenges like that, because there is a lot more of awareness, and that awareness does cause a level of anguish in people who have gone through that kind of thing and they haven't been able to get the right help, and it's affected their life. And then maybe not where they feel like they want to be today because of that. And you know, like I feel like very lucky and privileged that I'm in the situation today to be able to like talk to you about it in this way and not be massively triggered. Like, I mean, my hands are a bit sweating since I started talking about it, but you know, I'm comfortable enough to have the conversation, and I wanted to have that conversation with you today, and I didn't really know how it was going to come out. You know, so you know, like that's you know, obviously something that I'm going through at the minute. And I mentioned that the sentencing was going to be on Monday, and it got adjourned for 3 months because of other cases that are ongoing, and that is very stressful for me, because I was thinking, you know, Monday, come get that over and done with, straight into the campaign, and I was thinking that's actually quite a lot. But for it to get adjourned, I'm like, I feel like it's not over yet. But on Tuesday I made a decision that I was like, I can't put myself through this for another 3 months. I have to let it go. So like, I've just kind of said, like, you know, I'm going to just let it go and get on with my life, and that I'm just going to have a week off when it comes around and start thinking about it then, like compartmentalise it till then. But you know, for the period below the election, that has been what's been consuming, like for me. And you know, it's a very like difficult thing, really. But I think the university is just being so gentle with us. You know, they've given us like space and time, and like, you know, I almost feel like you know, that's happened. It causes a lot of like anguish and distress, and it's like really kind of like forced us to like engage with support services and to get like help. And actually like I almost feel like I'm like starting to grow from it. Like I'm like, that's happened, I've like realised what's help out there, and I'm like, actually like, it hasn't just forced us to sort my shit out from what happened, but also like all of my shit. And you know, like I feel like I'm on a journey now, like to being like the self that I like kind of want to be, you know. And I think that's like really important. So that is sort of my stance on that is that it's really, really important, and people should be validated if they feel a certain way, they feel unsafe. That should be very valid, and people shouldn't like kind of be like trying to work out like if what happened was like right or wrong. Like obviously that is something that has to happen, you know, like in the complaints process or like with the police or whatever. But like as a university, we should be really supporting anyone who feels a certain way, you know, and they should be validated for that, because there's so many nuances in different people's lives from different places that, you know, you can't put everyone in a box, and you can't understand. You know, if you've been through it before, you can like maybe kind of like understand that it's like a bad thing, but you're still never going to understand how someone else has perceived that. And I think just being like gentle with each other and like authentic and honest, and just like appreciating people, you know, like it's like, you know, like someone turns up late to a lecture or something, it's like, and they're getting like stick for it. I'm like thinking like, oh, why are they late? You know, it's maybe something's going on. Like people shouldn't be berated, you know, like lectures, like, you know, things should be inclusive practices across the board. You know, if someone's feeling stressed one day and they don't want to go to uni, they should be able to decide that morning, I don't want to go into uni today. You know, we're all here to get the best out of education. We're paying a lot of money to be here, and you know, people should be able to do that in a way that's safe for them, not put themselves in an environment that is too much at the wrong time. You know, like there's days where like if I went to uni after that, I would have been totally overstimulated, and I would have got nothing out of going in apart from like kind of messing up my nervous system as such. You know, I'm like kind of sat here today, like I was on medication for a bit, like which was kind of really to help with the nerve pain in my jaw, because that was kind of causing us a lot of drip, but also like the work on your nervous system that really calmed us down. But I'm sat here today, like I'm stopped them, like I've stopped smoking, like I'm in a really like healthy place in my life, and you know, like I'm 30. I would like to help students that are going through these challenges in their life or at home to actually like get to the place where I feel I am now a lot sooner, and also to help people who don't have them challenges to understand people that do, and understand how, you know, if we can like give each other that time and like stuff like that, that, you know, everyone's got a lot to offer, I think it's just heartbreaking when people go through challenges, they've got a lot to offer, but they can't show up as the self they want to be. So, you know, that's why I'm standing for diversity, inclusion and mental health, because I think them three things is what helps you be yourself. So diversity, like celebrating differences and seeing the beauty and looking for the beauty in things, not looking to be sort of like thinking about what's the right way to be. You know, like people can be different. Like, you know, with AI nowadays, like, you know, that could like destroy all culture. You know, it could like make, you know, you type in there like, what's the right way, what's the answer to this, what's the answer to this, like, you know, is there a right way for things to be? You know, I don't believe so, as long as we're being kind and we'll have this kind of like togetherness. So I really want to like celebrate that, and then for the inclusion side of things, like I want people to be able to be the self that they want to be, not just be allowed in a room, like to actually just, you know, be themselves in that room, be like their authentic self. Like, you know, it takes a lot of energy sometimes, you know, to like fit in as such. You know, like if people are from different places, or if people have like neurodivergent, like think differently and stuff like that. Like I think, you know, even these differences should be massively celebrated as well, because different people are better at different types of things, you know, and we shouldn't be trying to get like fish to climb trees. I think that is the top and bottom of it, you know. Like I struggle with some things significantly, but like for example, in engineering, there's definitely things that I can do that other people would struggle with as well. And you know, I think the university has a lot of amazing services, and I really want to promote them services, and I want people to feel like they can use them services not because things are going wrong, because they want things to go, I was going to say right, but that's not what I mean. I want people to be able to use them just because they want things to be better. And I think, like, you know, if you're in a better situation, like every student in this university should know how important they are to the community. You know, like I've had like very small interactions with people where like they've just said like something very small, and it's like had like a huge impact on us. Like, and I'll give an example. I went to, when I come back to do my PhD, I went to a conference in the student Centre for Student Life, and the woman on the desk, she was from engineering, and she had a badge on. I've seen her name. She's called Samantha Jones, and I was like, oh, you're Samantha, you're the one that was helping us with. You're Samantha, you're the one that was helping us with an aspect of what was going on when I broke my jaw. And she went, Callum, you didn't break your jaw. Someone else did it. And that like small like nuance in the language like really stuck with us. And it made us think like, you know, that it wasn't my fault, because I did blame myself a lot for it. But I didn't like, you know, you kind of like think like, why did I deserve this kind of thing? You know, that's, and when she said that, I like such a huge difference. So, you know, like just showing up, being there for each other, you impact people's lives in ways that you could never imagine, you know, and like, you know, like I've had all these experiences, you know, and here I am today. So, you know, like I kind of hope to do the same. Really, you know, like I think maybe part of why I'm here today is because I want to give back for what's been given to me. I think if anyone's going through any difficult stuff, especially any sort of sexual assault, sexual harassment situations, that, you know, I think they need to be really empowered and looked after, even if they can't do anything about what happened for like the person who's done it to them. You know, they need to be just really helped and looked after. And you know, no one wants to feel like what's happened to them is like not cared about. You know, and I think when people feel like they matter, that they get the help that they need because they know how important they are. I think it's very easy to feel like just going to withdraw. But I want all the students in this unit to feel important, everyone. And like, I know you can't please everyone all the time, but I think in sort of more serious situations, it's really important that we're like safeguard people and make sure that people have the opportunities to thrive and empowered to get through things. And you know, like when there was like stuff that was happening with like my dad, or stuff that was like happening with me, like I have been less of an asset to the people around us. But because of the help that I've got, you know, I've been able to actually help people. And since I've started talking more openly about what's happened, it's surprising how many people have like reached out to us and spoke to us about it, about like things that have happened to them, or like just kind of like, you know, supporting me as well for being open about it. And I hope that, you know, we can get to a point where like someone is like acting inappropriately, thinking they're gonna, I don't know, what do people expect to get out of these situations? You know, it's, people should just know that it's just like only going to lead to bad consequences for them, you know. And I think that should be, you know, very well known. Like if someone feels like they want to do something negative, they should be like, you know, feeling like this is like going to end badly for me, as well as the people who are having something done to them, to feel like they can like reach out without judgment as well, and feel like they can like stand firm and confident in who they are, because like when something like that happens, you know, it's happened to them, it's not their fault. And yeah, I think that's kind of the overarching feeling that I have in that area. So I think basically it is like very much at the forefront of what I'm feeling at the minute, and I'm hearing and seeing things that make us feel very uncomfortable around the university. And I think the first kind of starting point in making change is kind of that awareness, but to cause to like a constructive wave of change. And I think the university is obviously going to be really instrumental in like helping bring that change. And you know, I really want to work with the university to like introduce new policies and to give staff and other students the ability to call out inappropriate behaviour and to be heard. I mean, I've like been like saying that, you know, I'm not happy about this, and it's like, well, he has forms to fill in, and I'm like struggling to do my own uni work, and I'm like doing these forms to like bring change for really like other people. So it's like doing that is like detrimental to me, but it shouldn't be.
So you'd like to see change in the sort of complaints process and
yeah,
how change is brought about?
Yeah, and I would like there can be an active bystander in how things are reported and how things are dealt with. Obviously, it is like a touchy kind of difficult situation, you know. Like, but for me, like, it's better for things to be spoken about and dealt with and to work through it and get the other end, opposed to having like suicides on campus and people leaving uni with significant trauma.
Yeah.
And not getting any closure on that in the time that they're here. And not seeing that, not being validated that what's happened is wrong enough for there to be any sort of systematic real change. You know, like, students should see the change, and there should be like, you know, what happened to me was actually really wrong.
Thank you so much for sharing the story. I think we both understand, and the listeners will too, it takes a massive degree of strength that will resonate with lots of people. So thank you. Finally, last question now. If we gave you 30 seconds to pitch yourself to be people's choice of candidate, what would you say?
I think I would just say that I'm looking to represent what students want. I feel like I've already had my experience. I think from the interview today, it's very clear that I stand very strong on some points, but ultimately it is what the students want that is going to matter to us, and I want to develop really good relationships with the vice presidents to like empower them, but also I want to talk about changes in the university system as well to help empower the people that are like having direct contact with all the students, the academics, to actually be able to do the job that they want to be doing as well. Like at the minute, there's things that are quite problematic, like with understaffing. So like the contracts teams cause significant problems for academics kind of like getting like basically funding from external places and contracts signed. I want to try and help, you know, the students and the university have like a much stronger symbiotic relationship. So I think the top and bottom of it is that I don't have something that I'm strongly standing for. I'm literally standing to empower students to be able to show up as a person that they want to be. And I'm really excited to see the students flourish if I get the opportunity. So that is kind of what I would say, is that I'm just going to try and like use my experience and my understanding of how the university works, and like in research as well, like postgraduate research for like PhD students as well as the undergraduate students, to like make things more streamlined so people can spend the time worrying about the things that matter, not like things that don't matter, because in my experience, you know, things don't get sorted out quickly and they lead into more, and then that's just causing more financial loss for the university. So I think it's in the university's interest to like be quite firm up front.